Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's topic is quite interesting because I know it's something of great concern to most internationally trained lawyers. So I've prepared these slides based on my experience and also based on research. And I also implore you to do further research on some of the areas mentioned so as to be well guided. So looking at the major things that you have to consider before you think of a program, you have to think of what school you would like to attend, what kind of program is it, and what are the admission requirements. These three key questions, amongst others, will be very vital in helping you make that decision as to which school you're attending. So, when we talk about the program options, there are quite a number of options that internationally trained lawyers can explore. We have the JD, we have the LLM, we have the ASJD, we have the PhD, which is also called SJD or JSD, depending on the school that you're attending. And if you look at the slide before us, I've already stated the number of years that you'd have to commit to each of these programs. So if you think of doing a Juris Doctorate in the US, then that's about 3 years. A Master of Laws program, that's 1 year. But for many schools, you're able to extend your program. So maybe you take a number of credit hours per semester, then the next semester you take the remaining portion up until when you are done with the program. So you can space it for the number of years that you want to do it. Then we also have the Advanced Standing Juris Doctorate. That's for 2 years. Doctor of Philosophy program, about 3 to 5 years, depending on the school that you attend. Now, looking at the program options, there are a lot of things you have to consider. Importantly, you have to think about the ranking of the school. This is very important because the US is a bit elitist when it comes to law school. So it's very important for you to attend a highly ranked law school. However, there are other considerations or other factors that you think about. So on the one hand, you have the ranking, on the other hand, you have other considerations that you have to look at. There's the cost, the financial implications. So you think about it, how much am I expending to get this advanced law degree? So if the amount for a JD outweighs the amount they are going to pay for an LLM, and if you don't have that kind of money at that time, you have to think about it properly to be able to decide which one do you want to attend, which school do you want to attend. Then the application requirements. I have a slide prepared on the lists of documents that you'll be needing for the application. Your career path. This is a very critical issue. So when we talk about career path, you have to think of what you want to do next. Do you plan on going back to your home country? Do you plan on practicing in the US afterwards? Do you plan on doing maybe private practice, or you want to do volunteering job or some other kinds of ideas that you have? So all these factors would channel your efforts and would help you in making an informed decision as to whether you want to do an LLM as opposed to a JD or as opposed to a PhD, for instance. For example, if somebody is thinking of academia afterwards, then the PhD will be like the best route for that person. So you do a master's first, you do your LLM first, then you think of doing the PhD program. But if you're thinking of law practice at the end of the day and you want to stay in the United States, then you might be thinking of doing a JD or an SJD. Well, many a times people also go ahead to do LLMs because they want to be specialized in a particular field. Then afterwards, they go to do a JD program. That's also a good way of going about it. So it depends on each person's preferences and what they think about doing afterwards. Then you look at the schools that you're applying to, you think about the specialization areas that each school has. For instance, some schools offer maybe just corporate law, intellectual property, technology law, cybersecurity, amongst others. So all the information that you require are available on the school's website. So you just go online and you do your findings, you try and do your research, try and compare schools and know what programs are available so that you can be well guided. Now, the application process. How do you go about it? When you're applying to a school in the US, for most schools, you have to go through the Law School Admission Council. That's the LSAC. We call it LSAC or LSAC. So the way you go about it, you create a profile, you create a portal online, you put in your credentials, you put in your email address, you set a password, then afterwards you're able to log in. On the LSAC page, you have the option of picking either the JD or the LLM option. So the JD option is strictly for JD admissions, then the LLM covers both PhD or SJD or GSD programs as well. So you'd log into either of it to be sure of which one you're actually applying to. For some other schools, all you need to do is just go to their school website and check for the information online. There are some schools that you don't need to apply through LSAC. You just go to the school website and submit the application form there. Then an email might be sent to you on how to attach other documents or necessary documents as applicable. It's crucial for you to plan ahead of time because there are other things you consider when you've gotten admission. For example, maybe your visa and other immigration stuff. So you have to be sure to plan well ahead of time. Then you also have to check for the school's admission cycle. On the website of each school, they specify whether they admit students only in the fall semester or in the winter semester or spring semester. So you have to be sure of how the school admits students and how you can plan accordingly. Otherwise, you might miss out on a particular school cycle and you have to wait until the following year. Most schools admit mostly in fall, the fall semester. Some schools do fall semester slash winter semester. So you're able to apply maybe in January, for instance. So you have to confirm what the school requires. Now, general requirements for filling most of these applications online for these schools. So the first step, you submit or complete the application form online. So whether you're going through the LSAC page or the school's website, there's usually an application form. So it's like a questionnaire. You answer different questions, either about your biography, your educational background, your professional experience, and other kinds of questions, even character and fitness questions, whether you've been prosecuted before, whether you've been arrested before, whether you are there are different questions that you answer online. So you have to answer all these questions honestly and accurately. Then the next step is for you to think about your personal statement. Personal statement is crucial in the application process because this is an opportunity for you to present yourself to the admissions committee. You are telling a story about yourself. You're telling them about who you are and where you are from and what you plan to achieve. So it's like a three-phase letter. You're talking about what you've achieved in the past, you're talking about where you are currently, and you're talking about your future prospects, what you think about doing with the degree. So for instance, if you're applying for an LLM, you're telling them what you want to do with that degree in the future as well. You're telling them about what you've done already in the past, maybe your professional experience, and you're also telling them how you want to channel all those experience and achievements into something useful in the future. So the personal statement is very important and it's always good to have people review them for you so that you're sure that what you have written is solid and will get you in. Optional essays. Some schools require optional essays. So they give you maybe a topic or two depending on the school's requirements and you'll be asked to write. Most times they're usually word limit. Sometimes it could be 500 words, it could be a page, 2 pages. There are always instructions. So it's good to follow the instructions for each school. Research proposal. This is mostly applicable for PhD programs. So for PhD programs, you have a research proposal. You're telling the admissions committee the kind of research you want to conduct in their school. You're telling them about your research interest areas and the areas that you want to focus on or what you would like to specifically what you would like to write on. Then your resume, you have to prepare a solid resume, highlighting all your accomplishments, telling them about everything you've done so far. Recommendation letters. I cannot overemphasize the importance of recommendation letters. You have to look for either professors or employers, people who have been in that position to assess your work in the past. So it's always good to have a mix of both if you are able to get. Otherwise, you can use solely your professors or solely your employers, but most times it's good to mix both. Have your employers write on your behalf and also have your professors who can speak to your academic ability and how you're able to conduct research or how you're able to write well or how you're able to analyze things and your proficiency in the use of English language as well. Transcripts. Yes, transcripts are very important because they have to know your academic record. So either for your bachelor's degree or any other degree that you've attained before, they would love to see the academic records that you have. So you have to submit these documents as well. If you're applying through the LSAC portal, all these documents will be assembled. There's a credential assembly service that LSAC provides. So you are going to upload or submit all these documents to LSAC. So many a times, I think the schools will have to send your transcripts directly. So if you attended a school in a particular country, your school will have to send your transcripts directly to LSAC. Then they would store everything in their database. And every time you submit an application, you will pay a fee for the reports of your credentials to be transmitted to each law school. We also have scholarship essays. There are schools that say that you don't have to prepare any separate essay. For some schools, the moment you are offered an admission, automatically you are considered for one kind of merit scholarship or the other. Some other schools require candidates to write individual essays. So depending on the requirements of each school, make sure you tailor your essay according to the instructions. TOEFL or IELTS. Many a times, some schools require English language proficiency. They want to know that you're able to communicate effectively in the English language and you'll be able to adapt to the practices of the law school in terms of communication and otherwise. Some schools waive the TOEFL requirements or the IELTS depending on the country you're coming from. So if you're coming from maybe a common law country or a country where you solely received your educational instruction in English language, the TOEFL or IELTS requirement could be waived for you. Now the LSAT, that's the law school admission test or GRE. Some schools require you to provide either of the two. Some schools accept only LSAT and some schools do not require anyone. So it depends on the application you are submitting. For instance, if you're applying to a JD program, that is the US law degree. It's like an LLB that you get. So the JD program requires LSAT. In fact, many a times they require you to submit your LSAT score. However, schools have started accepting GRE. So on the school's website, you will see the requirements, whether they're accepting LSAT or GRE, to be stated clearly. If you're applying to an LLM program, most schools do not require LSAT, but some of them state that if you have the LSAT score, you can as well upload it. And some schools state that if you have the GRE score, you could upload it, but they're not necessarily mandated for the LLM program. And if you're applying for the JSD or PhD program as well, most schools do not require LSAT or GRE. But like I said, make sure you confirm from the school's website to be sure as to what exactly is required of you. The application fee. Some schools waive the application fee. You have to look at the instructions on their website. Some of them give you a deadline. So if you apply on or before a certain date, the application fee could be waived for you. Some other schools, they would have stated on their website the application fee is X amount. So you have to make sure you pay the application fee before your application can be evaluated. So now I would like to talk about the Advanced Standing JD program, also called ASJD. Some schools refer to it as the transfer application. So you'd have to know the specific nomenclature that each school uses for this program. This program is very important because for internationally trained lawyers, if you are thinking of having a US JD, that's the Juris Doctorate, but you don't want to go through the 3-year program and you would like to save some time and costs, then this is the program you would like to consider. It's for internationally trained lawyers, like I mentioned. So you have to establish that you have a foreign law degree. It could be an LLB or whatever the name the degree is called in your home country. And many a times, people who have this kind of profile, maybe because you've already been internationally trained, you've been called to buy in a particular country, you have a foreign law degree, you'll be able to transfer up to a certain number of credits towards the JD program. Some schools say maybe 29 credits will be transferred. Some schools say maybe 30 credits. So it depends on each school. You just have to confirm and you would have to reach out to the school as well. You could write an email to the school to confirm how your profile fits with their requirements and how you could be a good candidate for the program. Then many a times the program will also require that you have a B grade or higher. So depending on the grading system in your school, the equivalent of a B grade or higher will be very good. So any course that meets the requirements of this advanced JD standing program, once you have a B grade or higher, you'll be able to transfer your credits towards the course. Here is a list of ASJD schools that I prepared based on my research. You can do well to go online, just use your Google search and different schools will pop up. So this is a great list here for you to take a look at. Look at the requirements of each school, look at the application process, look at the timeline, look at the fee, look at the ranking of the schools, check all those key consideration factors that I mentioned and you make that informed decision. It is a continuation of the list. I'm sure there could be other schools, so just make sure you do your homework and get the list properly. Now, after you've been admitted, what next? You have to start thinking about your US visa. It's very important because for some countries, there could be a backlog in the date for getting visa appointments. So you have to ensure that you do this the moment you get your admission. Just go online. I've already put the link here so you can check online. You do a Google search, DS-160 form. That's the non-immigrant visa application. So you start filling out the form. You may not submit the DS-160 form immediately, but create the form or create a portal and make sure that you have the application number. The application number will be useful when you want to select or book a US interview appointment. And I also put the link for that here. I hope this video has been very helpful. Do well to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you all for listening and have a nice one. Bye bye.